Hello everybody. In this video, we're going to be working in our project's API, but working on the front-end part. So far, we already did the backend complete. We did a little session, a lecture for Pinia store, because we're going to be using in the front-end. And today I want to start the project for the front-end part. So far, what I just have here is my backend, as you can see running. The only change that I did, as you can see on the screen, is that I modified my wrangler.json C file. And what I did is increase the request per minute to 100. So the rate limit is just a little bit bigger. That's it. Other than that, the only thing that we need to proceed now is to create our project to work in our front end per se. For that, we know we're going to use the template that we already have. Create a new repository. I will put myself as the owner. I will make it public, and let's call the my projects build. We can put like front end or something like that, but let's keep it as project view and let's just create it. We wait for a minute and then we just copy the HTTPS command for the git clone. I have SSH enabled, so I will use this one in my case. I actually have GitHub CLI, so it's faster for me. So I will use this one. But you just use the one that you have in your environment. So we'll go over here. I'm already in my folder and I will paste my command. If you have your GitHub CLI, I recommend to install it, go through the login process, and with just GH repo clone, you can do the kind of element. It's actually pretty cool. I will go to my projects view, and it will open this in a new one. Perfect. Let's change my profile to the class one, and let's remove this one from here. Okay. So the first thing that I need to be doing here is I want to install a couple of dependencies. And removing a couple of elements for the template per se. So the only things that we're going to be installing will be Pinia and view use from the view use functions that we already know. So I'm a project, I will just install those Pinia and view use core. And when I finish, I will do a simple npm run dev. So I will be running this constantly. And I have it running right here. Perfect. So we have the application. It's working and it's doing what it's supposed to. Cool. Let me just do stage that and tall Pinia and view use. Cool. So the first thing that I need to be doing here is we need to start posting and connecting to our API, work a little bit with the UI section and make it pretty much work. I will want to not to change per se the structure from the source directory, but I don't think we'll continue using the assets. That will be Tailwind. That doesn't change here. We're going to be creating stores folder. New folder. Let's call the other one library. Live. Here will be a framework agnostic helpers like that we will have it in our application. The store where every Pinia store. We have the views there. We have a router over here. So I think we just need to do components where we have those. And we need to use maybe composables or custom composables will be here. Cool. So those are the ones that we'll be creating. And then the first thing that I want to be doing here is to change a little bit the, the application per se. So we still have the template. We have flex screen, flex column. I think that should be it. We will still continue doing that menu. I like that part. Um, and I think the only things that we can do here will be make sure let's do something here. Let's do another main. Actually, it's not another main. It's the only one. And let's this make it class flex flex one and flex column. So the content inside here will continue having that pattern of functionality. And I think that should be it for now. There are no more changes. Everything looks the same so far. So the next thing that I want to do, going to main application, we need to call our Pinia store. So we need to import, create Pinia from Pinia, and we'll be using through here. A way to do it, probably we can do something like const application will be create app, and then we can use application dot use create Pinia, and this is a function. And then we do application use router, and then applications mount. With this, we just have initialized Pinia. Yeah, new dependencies reloading is working. No changes here so far. We just have everything initialized right there. What else do we need to do here? What I'm thinking is, let's go to index. Actually, let's go here. I will remove this. Base URL is not going to be used anymore. So we can just delete it. So we can remove that error there. And here, I will be adding some meta tags that I want to have completed and change a little bit about the icons. So let me just do this. Okay. And let me explain. And I don't like this. It's calling very well. Let's see. Here we're just doing the viewport. We just have it the same as we had it. We have the meta tag just to say that we're going to be using dark mode, thin color, what is going to be my colors in general. 0 is 0, 0 is B. Change my SVG that will have as an icon. And I have a font from Google API, JS Mono that we'll use in across the board. And that will be, instead of view basic template, this is actually projects. Let's call like that. Yeah, really simple. This just change in general a couple of stuff. And here we'll see that little icon thingy that I created over here. Cool. Now that we have that, I think we can add it. Um, base stuff. Let's try to be more semantic, but here just simplify it a little bit what we're doing. So we have those changes over there. What I'm thinking is what we're going to be needed through our app to be handling. Well, one of the things for here is we need to have an environmental variable. It's not secret per se. It's an env file, so we can just call it like .env. And to make sure that this is not going to be tracked, let's add it to here. We'll do .env. Perfect. In this .env, we need to create a environmental variable. It's a little bit different with the secret, but not that much. The difference with the secret is something that is now available to access to EMB in a way, but in the front end there's no secret at all. So the only thing that I want to have here is a way to connect to our API. And the way that Bit uses environmental variables, we need to pre-append those with bit underscore, and then we just call our environmental variable here. So we're saying, well, we're just be using bit API based URL. And for now, let's use pointing to our backend that is supposed to be already running right here. Import 8787. This will be changing whenever we push to production. But for now, let's keep it as it is. So we have those there. Let's verify if it was yes, EMB change it, restarting server. Perfect. That's what we needed. So the other things that we need to do, let's start thinking about the different views that we'll be requiring. So let's go to route, and in the router, we'll be changing some of those. So we don't need other. Let's remove that. We don't need mm, projects to come. I don't think we need it as it is. I think we need to do a redirect here. So let's change this. We don't need it. And we don't need this anymore. Cool. And what else? I think that will be it for now. So let's start creating some of those. So what I'm thinking here is that everybody who goes here need to do a redirect. So we can define that over here. And I'm thinking that we need to go to our projects endpoint. Projects. Okay, perfect. Then I think we need to have a path called login. Cool. It needs to be a combo there. We need to have another one for register. Let me just copy the login one. Another one for projects. So this will be register. This will be for projects. We'll call in those. So we're going to be a routes. This will be at the end. This is the catch-all for the any other ones. Just get back to root, and we can do. Actually, let's go back to projects, and then we are going to be doing well another one a little bit different. In order to see the project details, we need to have something like this, where this is going to be a digit, and we define that through here, right? So I think those are going to be the different routes. That means for each one of those, we need to create a view. So in our views page, we can remove, I think nothing should happen. Yeah, we don't have anything anymore. Order doesn't exist. We need to change that too. So we can remove the home page. We can remove other page. Oops. Oh, well, we can rename it, but let's remove it. And let's create our login page. And let's do a simple template. H1 login page. Let's keep it simple for now. That means that my login page should be called in my route here. And we can do something like like this. Import from our view folder the login page view. Right? And one of the cool things here is we can change a couple of elements. So I want to put a couple of meta here, and it will be like extra values that is tagged. to the route. So I want to my login page. I will put something that's called guest only. That's true. And I change the title so we can actually go through that. And I think we should be able just to go to login. We're on the login page, right? That's pretty neat. I think this should be changing. I don't know why it's not, but well, we can see that later. But well, we can see the login page is actually doing what it's supposed to. Nice, right? And this get only is something that we're going to be using for guard or application per se. So let me do a couple more. I will be back in a second. So I added the register page, projects page. This actually should be page, and project detail page. And will be depending if we're going to log in, to register, to projects, and to projects with forward slash ID. And this will be the detail one that we'll be using here. Those are reference to pages that already exist. So we can go to login, we can go to register, we can go to projects in plural, well, without the number yet. And it should be like this. Projects page, a list template script. Oops. The projects page dot view should be here. Projects page dot view. Oh, I didn't save it. There you go. My projects page. And if I go to project.8, I'm in my project detail. Huh? That's pretty much what we're telling here. Now we added some metadata that we'll be using before for a specific content. We are telling this. We are adding login and register with guests only, so only guest accounts, and the ones that requires authorization are the projects and the project detail. So for this, we can do before we return the router after we already created a const router. We can do a guard here, and it's actually pretty cool. We can do router dot before each, and here takes another function that we say, well, where I need to go, and we can tell it if are you going dot meta, and we can see here requires authorization. Well, if this happens, we can just do, well, return name login, and we can send a query here. Query to redirect to the full path. You can see full documentation for the router in view router information. But here we say, well, if I look in the meta info and requires authorization is there, is that true? Well, I need to send, actually, I'm not authenticated. We're going to go into that piece in a minute. Right now, you're saying, well, this requires out. You know what? Send me here, but send my redirect to whatever I'm looking at. That means if I go into a detailed page right there, automatically, I go to login and login will send me to that detailed page. If I am in the project folder, it will send me to the project folder. It's a really cool caveat to have the redirect section there. The other things that we can do here, it will, well, if to.meta get only and is authenticated, we are going to be actually doing something like return to name projects, right? That means that, well, if I'm authenticated and it's a get only, I just need to go to the projects folder. I don't need to see the login again. If this will be something like and not is out, right? Of course, those are just fake for now, but I just want to show you a little bit how it's going to be. Let me comment this out. And let me remove this code that is breaking right now. And what's pretty cool, if I go to here, it should be sending me to the login page that is actually not doing. Oh, name is login with lowercase. Cool, login page. So if, and you see the red X is in my projects folder. So let me remove this. I will click enter here, enter, and it send me to login one more time. But if I go to register, it doesn't send me anything, keep me there. If I go to login, it keep me there too. But if I go to projects, like project 7, it redirects me to that project, but it sent me to login page. So this is what it's doing. Every time that we look at specific route, we just say, you know what, if that requires authorization, send it to login. We're going to be doing the trick for the authentication piece in the store, but for now, I think this is cool. So let's send this, added route and basic route guard. I think guard is like that, probably. I'm not sure right now. Cool. So now that I have those and I know a little bit where I need to be going through, I think what is important here is let's work in the menu because I think the menu is not doing what it's supposed to, right? So look at this. I go into other doesn't exist, but it's trying to send me to project because that's the catch up and I need to go to login. So let's actually work a little bit in our lab menu part and let's do a couple of stuff in there. So let's go to components, lab menu. And the first thing that I'm thinking here is to change my class for my link class. And let's have something like this. Cool. It just change a little bit. And let's do just one for login just to see how it looks like. Okay, yeah, we're doing it. Cool. So the first thing that I'm thinking here, let me just remove completely my navigation menu. And let me grab this out in a header. And when I'm thinking of the header, I will have a couple of class. I want to make this sticky. That means that all will be on the top. Well, to be sincere, just the top 0. C40, that means things is going to be below the C index part. Let's just close it because it's complaining. Okay. And let's do a simple backdrop blur Excel. Okay. Yeah, probably. And then let's do what I'm thinking here. Let's do a div. The div will have class of MX Auto. No, you know what? Not yet. Let's do first. Let's make a border on the bottom. And let's border dash board. Uh, what can do here? Trying to think. Uh, let's go here. Let's customize the template a little bit to have some elements that we need. I will make some basic colors. These are just light variables that we can use, and you can see those colors right there. So we have the background, we have the surface, we have the border, so this greenish one. We have border strong, text, text 2, text 3, color accent link, danger, danger soft, warning, and success. Couple of colors to change the fonts and the sans and the mono to use the GS mono over here. And the other things I want to do, well, I want to start changing a couple of elements in my CSS. Now, I don't want to go too much details in my CSS, but I will showcase those, and you can look those on the repo. So after I have those colors that I predefined, I created now, okay, for my base layer for Tailwind, my color scheme will be dark in general, until my HTML and my body will have background color of that one. And the color of the text will be color text. And telling that my body requires the font sans. I'm just adding an extra function for characters. But I feel like just adding extra elements, spacing, background image. I just do some ellipses there. Whenever a selection, I have a background, my headings, I just have specific spacing. Just making like general CSS element to my input, select, and text area. I inherited the font, so you can do whatever the browser wants. I change the scroll bar a little bit here and there. And then in my components, I just change my mono to use the mono font with specific sizing. I use a card because we're using several cards, and the gradient it will be across the board. Whenever we hover over the card, it will be the class for that one with a transition. And card hover, this will do changes. Some glow effects, the chips, chip accent, chip warning, chip success. Here and there. The KBD, the command hint. Rules, rise, a couple of elements for animations. And if somebody prefers reduce motion, we just change those animations to be lower. So I don't want to go to details, just to show you a little bit how those can actually look like and what is going to be the effect. You can see now a little bit the colors, the background changes a little bit. But now that I have that, I can do something cool here. That will be my border, will be color border, right? And I can also say in my nav menu that I want to background to be my background. So background will be background color. As you can see, I was not that creative on the names. And let's make it a little bit transparent with 70 there. And through here, I will be do the another div will we have everything for the top menu percent. So the first things that I want to do is another container. That container is the one that will have it. Okay. Now we'll have my MX auto. That means margin left and right is automatically. It will be flex. It will take the whole width. I will say the max width will be approximately 6XL. That's talking about 1152 pixel. Items will be center. Justify between. That means whenever it will be between the different objects, would have specific sizing. That means the first and the last one will be pushed to beginning and to the end. That's pretty much what I'm saying here. And let's just do a simple gap, probably of, let's do 4, with padding of X of 5. Yeah, 5 is okay. And padding Y of 3. So far, we just have that little thing up here. And now we need to start adding content. let's do, and for that content, what I want to add is two different elements. I want to add the branding and I want to add the nav menu. So my nav menu will be on the bottom. And before that, I just need to do a router. Actually, it's not a view, it's a router link. Oops, a router link that will have a couple of elements. This will be, this router link will be two, you can say projects, and we'll have a class of flex with item center with a specific gap of 2.5. Text will be small, will be another justify between, and some gapping of 4. Um, I'm actually, you know what? I'm going to copy the one on the top. I'm so sorry for that. Text small, sorry. Master will be a font, semi-bold, and text color text, because of what I have here. Cool. And for that, we'll be having the word project. Oops, it's not attribute, it's a text. Right? Yeah, there you go. And whenever I click this, it should go to the projects page. So let's try to go to projects 7 again. If I click here, it should send me to projects. I'm not going because the guard is right there. Cool. Um, we can do something here because this is actually not complete. The cheap thing that I created. Let's put it here without translation and it will be better. That means that have that little thing there, like, yeah, my project is a beta, right? Just to give it a little flair through there. And what I have to is I want to put a little icon before the word projects. And this SVG that I took from internet. And I think I need to change this to color accent link. Text accent link, yes. I can do simple text accent link. Save this. And we have that little SVG that I created. Yes. Project with the greenish and that little square. So this will be like the one over here. Now inside my nav menu, I want to have a couple of stuff and that will be pushed all the way to the right because remember, this is a flex component. What I'm thinking here, let me minimize all this and let's go here. So the first thing is, let's make this class flex items center, and with a gap, probably of 4. And let's make this area label of primary. This is for those who require area labeling. And here what I'm thinking is we need to see if we are authenticated or if we are not authenticated. And that will depend what will be showing here. So far, I will not making the authentication yet, but let's just do just a couple of elements. So Let's do the not authenticated per se. So let's do router link to login, and the class will be the link class. And we can do something like sign in. And then we can have another one that will send it to register, probably. And that will change a little bit to, sorry, I'm looking my notes right now. Just lose them a little bit. Um, let's do another router link. Let's actually copy this. It should be right here, sign in. The second one will be get started. Let's do something like that, right? This will be for to register. Oops. And let's send this to register. And the class, instead of doing a simple link class, it will be a custom. Let's do rounded MD background accent pixel px not pixel padding x3 padding y 1.5. And what else we have an issue here. Oh yes, this is not dynamic anymore. Let's do text extra small with a font medium. Yeah, that little button look like. We can do the text to be the same text that we have before, text accent ink. Yeah, looks better. And let's do a transition of opacity with a level opacity on hover. So let's do transition opacity with whenever we hover over, let's change the opacity to 90, right? And that 90 should be, oops, like this. So yeah, we can have that hover over. We go to register page, we go to sign in page, to login and sign in. Cool. And we click here, we go into the login page per se. That's pretty cool. Let's go to the login page. I want to showcase something. Let's do lorem. And let's copy over this a couple of times. You will see something really cool. Oops, it's not that far. Let's copy more times. And you will see whenever I scroll, my menu stays on the top, right? That was the idea, to do a sticky, and we did transparency. You can see right there. It's actually pretty neat, right? Cool. So let's remove all these extra lines that we don't need for the login page. So let's add it and let's commit, add it, styles, general, and created nav menu. Using those. Cool. Let's actually now work in our login page. Something that we can do that's actually pretty neat is we can, in general, do one form and change that, or we can do two. I will go to the simpler way right now and just do two different ones, one for register, one for login view. But you will be seeing a little bit what we're going to be using on those, right? So let's go to here again. Let's do a script setup on the top. Cool. And let's import reactive use route and use title from use core. And what I'm going to be here is with the use title, we just do sign in projects. This is actually pretty neat because now here we can see sign in projects is being injected as the title. So it's a really good composable function from view use to actually change the title per se. So let's use those through here. And now let's do a compile of root, router use route, router and root use root from view router. And there's a difference between those. You will see in a minute. And for reactive, we'll be creating a form. We have the email and the password per se, right? For the template, let's do let's remove this. Let's do a simple main class that have flex item center justify center. And for here, we're going to have another div internally. Um, let's just do some branding here. Like it's welcome back. This I'm actually I think I'm actually in the register one, but let's keep it as it is. Yeah, welcome back because we are designing. And into the project, your workspace is waiting, right? So we have that chip on the top, signing to project, your workspace waiting. It's just branding there, it's just little flair. And what we can do here is to have a couple of components. What component we can use here? I think will be, because we want to be repeating a couple of components, let's go back to my component folder and let's do an application button. And let's do a form field that view, right? So my application button is, we're going to showcase something new here. My button, I just have rough variant. Should be primary goes to danger, right? It should be one of those for validator. By default, is the primary. The size we have MD and we can have small MD. And the type by default is button, disabled, fold by default, and loading is fold by no. So the button is a simple template for a button. When we define the type, class, disable, area busy, and loading state that will depend on whatever we actually calling through here. And the classes, we have some base classes through here, but also some dynamic classes that will depending if we ask for a primary button, a ghost button, or a danger button. And why I'm saying that? Because this pretty neat thing over here is how sometimes bigger application work. So you have your login or your button that will be generated across the board. You have different sizing, and it doesn't make sense just to add buttons anywhere. So you centralize those and centralize the styling of those buttons in one particular place. You can see through here, and then you just call the difference that you need. That will allow us here to do a simple. Let me actually import it in my login page. Let's do import my application button, and we can do simple application button, right? That will be right there. Well, of course, we need to do a little bit better. Let's put it after the main so we can see it go all the way to the bottom. Let's put it right here. And cool button, right? So it's a simple button that pretty much says cool button, but oops, sorry for those, or variant. We can do a simple variant, and this will be a ghost. If we change the variant, the button change. You see that affects the hover. And when this change to danger is the other name that I would put there. Yes, danger. If we change to danger, that one through there, right? We can also have size, and let's do MD. I think MD the default one. We have the MD and we have the small. So let's have this one over here and let's copy this over without this and let's do size small and you will see the changes. Like this one is a little smaller than the bigger one, right? That's pretty neat, right? And also the other part about the variants, we can do the loading stake and that kind of stuff, right? And the loading, we have a little span that will reproduce an animation. So we can do something like this. Let's say that this is actually loading. We save it. Yeah, we have that grayish and that animation right there. So we create a cool component that takes different parameters and have those. I don't want to go too much details, but you can actually go and see the source code, how define the props, variance, size, type, disable, loading, some defaults, the classes that will depend, and how we applied all those to our button per se, right? Let's remove the button from here because we don't need it yet, right? Cool. And the other things that we need to do, it will be the form field. That will be something similar. It's a little more complex, but I want to put all this here because I want to show you what I did. So I have label, model value, type, placeholder, error, require, autocomplete, and hint. And it defines and it emits something when that updates the model value that we send, right? We're saying is we have a label. If that exists, we create it. If it's required, we add the little star that is a required field. Hint, we can define well if as a hint, like your email need to be valid or password should be X amounts of characters, things like that. That will be defined through here. And just a simple input with all those props that will be dynamic for whatever we send. And if there is an error, that error will be handled and shown on the lowercase. That means what this actually means. Well, let's go back here. Let's import our from field. And let's do that after the button. And we can do something as simple as this. And save. And we show you what I'm doing here. Oops. We have form field with the form field email that is the reactive element. And we're saying label and everything. Let me change the error. This is the one that should be showcasing through here. And then we have the button, application button, right pretty much on the bottom. Now, loading, it doesn't exist yet. So let's do, for now, a simple sign in. What else? I have an issue here. And background, we can do danger stuff now. And I think I have another error that I need to fix somewhere. Here, let's see, because I already have it complete, just looking what I'm having as an error. Read email of undefined. Oh, wait, but I have to here. If I have an issue with the email, cannot read properties, email from undefined. Interesting. Let's comment those out for now. Um, I don't see another there. Well, why is actually saying that? Let's do a simple refresh just in case. And nothing shows. Interesting. Oh, it's load, trying to load. Let's see here. Yeah, we're not using this yet. But yeah, this should be working right now. Console. Let's close it. Let's do simple redirect. Something is failing. Let's review what is happening. Okay, I think it's this one. I don't have the error yet to handle. So let's remove those for now. And let's see. And there you go. Now we have the simple login page, but I would like this actually to be on the top. Let me see. Probably we need to send all this one level up. And there you go. Now we have our login screen pretty much complete. You can see email, your company, everything is pretty much through there. The way it's supposed to. Cool. And I think the only things that we need to add is just the button for submission. And that will be exactly right. Okay, the button for submission, yes. We remove the errors. We just keep the signing part. And what we can do is a simple router link after this form. Send me to register. So yeah, create account, go to register page. If not, we need to go to the login page. That's pretty neat, right? Let's go to the register page and let's do some changes to that one too. So let's go here, register page, and I will be using for now the script setup. And the first thing will be, oops, we'll be using the reactive, we'll be using the view core for the use title. We'll import our forms and our buttons. For now, let's change the title to create account. Yeah, create account. Nice. And after we change that, we can have our form really similar that we did before. And now we can do our template per se. Let's change the loading state for now. It's not there yet. And let's remove the errors because they are not there yet. Let me fix this with my background color dangers off. And save it. And that should be it. Yeah. So new account, start organizing today. Create your free projects account. And we can go to sign in. And we can go to create project. And with that little quick animation through there. Cool. So we have the feel and the look like about what we need to have here. So the other thing that I want to do now is actually commit this and register layout. They are not completely done yet, but let's now do to the nitty-gritty of the application. I want to have an API endpoint, and that API will use my my env variable in order to make calls and start seeing if we have issues, right? We also need to define a couple of elements regarding how everything is being sent back to us from our API. The good thing is because we just have a naming convention about sending the data, the elements, we can have one big wrapper that will use all those API endpoints instead of having multiple wrappers per API. So here I will use a little bit of object-oriented programming. I hope that you remember that. And I will create a new type of error that will actually not through here. I'm sorry. That will be in my library. Let's do a new file. Let's call this api.javascript. So the first thing is I will have a base URL that will use my import meta env. That's the way that bit see environmental variables. And we use the bit API base URL or nothing. And I will have a simple export class API error extends my error. And for this, I will have a simple constructor. I need to send the status, code, message, and details by default will be empty array. And this is the format that we have of the error. And that will allow us just to do super message. That means that the message will just send it back to the original error class because we are extending it. And then we can do just this dot name equal API error. This dot status equal status. This dot code equal code. And this those details equal detail, right? Just map it up. And we can do for field error function in more class. We'll do a simple map that will be an empty object. And then for const detail of this dot details, if detail has a field, we just map it up. For that detail field equal a detail dot issue. And those we need to remember field and issue are coming from our API. So this is really particular to make our UI responsive and we just return the map, right? It doesn't make too much sense right now. You will see that in a minute. So we need to have a simple asynchronous function to do the fetch. That's pretty much to do and a simple function to do the API fetch that will be doing a couple of elements. So let me show you those in a minute. So we need to do use fetch the fetch function for a base URL forward slash API. We need to send the raw page. Set the path, method by default is get. We set the body and the get. Headers, nothing. If not body, color type. If there's a body, we change the content type of the headers. If there's a token, we set that as the bearer token that we're sending through here. And then we just do the fetch endpoint. And I think for doing fetch, I will fix this in a minute. Method, headers, and body. If it's an official fetch endpoint fetch, you can go to here. Is the request to do calls to another URL. And if the status is 204, I just don't need to return anything. If not, I just initialize my payload and await response. If not, if the body is not JSON, I just keep it empty, so payload will be null always. If my response is not okay, I will create a new API error, send it those particular elements, and I will cache that in a minute, right? The other one that I will be using here is my API fetch. That will be for the authentication piece, and use authorization store. That will be make it in a second, and use that one in particular. Here we're saying whenever we are going to be authenticated, if we are authenticated, we do the fetch the way that we need it with the token. If there's an error, we need to, and if the error is for one, we try to refresh it one more time and send it back. And we just clear the store. After that, if not, we just throw the error per se. So it's just a simple wrapper, and we will be working through our authentication store the way that we need to be doing it. And that will be pretty cool to work. So let's go back to my store. Actually, before working with my store, let me cancel this. I was telling you that I need to fix the fetch. And the problem here with the fetch is that ESLint doesn't know that we're working with the browser side, and we need to install some globals in our particular options. So I think for those, I'm not sure if we need to install the globals parameter so they will know exactly what we're talking about. But I think, yes, I think we need to. So let me console my server and let's do npm install development globals. So like global function that we have on browser and we have on backend. We can install those. Yeah, perfect. Let me run it one more time just to keep it running. And what I will be doing here is my ESLint. I will be changing a particular element to talk about those globals. We need to tell that after we look in pretty much everything, well, let's import globals from here. And we'll say like language options. And we can say my globals this is a function from ESLint. Is whatever we have in my global.browser. Right. Saying that my option is everything for the globals for the browser per se. And you can see that now my fetch is working fine because we know that is a specific valid element. It's just to remove that particular error, right? Let's do just the ESLint and the package JSON and look added globals. And we'll be doing the API in a minute. So now let's go back to a store. Let's do a new store and let's make the name of the store or authentication store. So let's do a store. We can do out store or we can do just out. It will be depending what you want to handle. Let's just do a simplify it. It's inside my store folder. And what we need to do here is just a couple of elements to make it work. So here, we need to import the file store for Pinia, computer and ref for view, use storage for use, and the raw fetch and the API error for my library API, right? For those, we can start making something. Now, there is a process. There's a, in a minute, well, let's actually do something different. We do export const use authentication store equal define store, and let's call this authentication. And then we send the elements and the object for my store in particular. So do const access token. And we'll be saving this in memory for now. So let's do simple null, right? Access token reference null is going to be there. Let's do const refresh token. And we'll be saving this in local storage. So we'll use storage. And let's give it the key of authentication refresh token. And by default will be null. And let's do email. And let's save the email too in the storage as authentication email null. Why we're saving the email? Because that will allow us to, how can I explain a little bit better? This will, this is const. Okay, yeah, it looks better. This will allow us to have the email saved because the email will not be sent back anywhere. We send a token and we send the email through the token. So it will just to help us set up the email in and save it somewhere whenever we authenticate. So the first thing is we need to also define a computed element. If the refresh token value is Boolean, is true, it exists, we say, well, it's authenticated. We just say the person is authenticated. This is a base component. We need now set the particular tokens. And we need to send the access token and the refresh token. If the access token is not undefined, we set it. If the refresh token is not undefined, we set it. And it will be in memory, it will be in local storage. It's already defined through here. And then we need to get the email for my access token and save it in the email value that will be saved in the storage. For that, we need to decode the JWT. Now, I don't need to verify the key, so I don't need to bring the key. So here I'm just going to do a simple function. And the JWT is a simple base 64. We have payload, and we have the signature at the end. Header, payload, signature. And we're saying, yes, we're going to parse it and get the token. And we'll get the second element for the token. That means that is the email per se. And I will return it as a payload email or as a null. If there is an error doing this, I will just return null one more time. So here what we're saying, the correct is just get that one. So we get in the email from token very much. Remember, the token split for the dots is because the first element is the header, the second element is the payload, and the last is the signature. So we just get the payload. And then with this, we decode it in base 64. And then we see if the email exists. And we send that back. That's pretty much what we're saying here. We need another function. That function will be clear. That pretty much set everything to null. We need to have an asynchronous function. And that's why we need to be careful to here. is to register. We do route fetch to authentication register, post, and we send the email and the password. And we need to send those through here, right? Await login with user email and password. The other thing that we need to do, well, let's define what is login because that doesn't exist yet. Login is just a fetch to authentication login with the email and password. And after you get back, we set the access token and refresh token. And then we set the email value to the user email. Simple as that. We need to do a refresh. That means whenever we get the 401 that the token is expired, we need to do a fetch to the refresh point, a post, and we need to send the refresh token, right? And we get the access token back, and we just set it up. If there is an error, we send the instant off and the error status 401, and we clear. We do the logout pretty much. And because we're doing the logout, we just pretty much need to put that as a function. And we can do that one through here too. Function logout is just token refresh token value, and we just clear it. If there is a token, raw fetch, post it, refresh token, and catch it. As simple as that. We don't set the state and we change the access token, but we're not sending the access token anywhere. That's the cool thing about this, right? So we're just like, oh, let me log in again. It changes the access token, but we are not doing anything with that particular access token, making it pretty much log out, and then we just clear it everything before, right? We don't set it up again. And to make all this work, of course, we need to return everything that we're just calling right now. The access token, refresh token, email, authenticated tokens, clear, register, login, refresh, and logout. That was a mouthful, but yes. That was the story for the elements in the authentication store. This pretty neat will help us now go into our login and start playing around with a couple of elements. What I want to do also, before continue, I want to do a composable, and it will be use asynchronous JavaScript. I'll just have something really quick, import ref, and from view an API error from library API. And the simple thing that I'm doing is just a simple call. So whenever I need to do something asynchronous, I run it, the function that I'm sending, and set the loading value to true, error value to null, fill error to value, and just try to do the function. It catches the error, apply the error instance, and loading value of false indefinitely. This is just another wrapper to make asynchronous call. And instead of doing try catch all over the place, we just use asynchronous, and that will make our code a little bit cleaner in our application. It will make sense in a minute. So having all that, we can go back to our login page. And we need to set this up. Just title application button, and we can use now use our authentication store, use our asynchronous from composable asynchronous. We need to set up this. We need to set up also the authentication from auto store and the loading error fields run from use asynchronous. And after we have that, we should be able to use those through our code. Before we proceed, I think the only thing that I need to do here is to change the form submission. And we're telling whenever submission I need to run from my asynchronous function, the authentication login from the form. Redirect, if the type query have the redirect, I just send that back to my projects and replace it. That's pretty much what I'm saying. If not, just capture it. This is the query parameter that we're setting up in the login endpoint. So for that, the only things that we need to do here is whenever we submit a form, we prevent the submit. We send the form field. And I think now we can do there's error with the errors. Cool. Also, if there's error for the password, we can send that now here. Cool. And now for the error message, it's already there. And application, we can change this whenever it's loading. We'll do signing in. If not, just sign in. And that should be it. So in theory, this should work. Let's try it. So we are in our signing. And I have this user already. And something happened. Not what I was expecting, but something happened. Let's see what happened there. Oh, I need to close this. And they say, what happened here? Yeah, with the post authentication login, it's actually saying good, but I think something happened here that it didn't do what it's supposed to here. Politics insert before a node, the node before which the new nodes will be inserted. Oh, this is a really weird error. Let me see through here. I think we can see here in the memory section, probably no. Application part. We can see the tokens here. We can see that Pinia phone notification email is actually there. But you know what? I have two called refresh token, and that's an issue. So probably that could be the problem that I have here. So let me just edit key. Oh, I have one with lowercase t. I think this is the previous one, and this is the new one that it should not be with lower t. Let me see my code. And that should be in here. No, it actually should be. Let me check my notes. Yeah, this is the issue. It should be token with uppercase because that's the one that we're looking at through here. So let me just refresh this page. And I went. I think it's actually working. Let me sign in. Let me remove this. Remove this. And let's try one more time. Fake at fake.com. And my password. Signing in is there. It set it up, but it didn't do the redirect. And I need to review that. So let's try to find out one more time what happened. We go to Element Console. Yes, this is my Chrome. Everything should be working actually. Mm, really interesting. Let me pause the video and I will get back to see what is the problem. Okay, I think I know what is happening. So the first thing that I need to do here, let me just disable my extensions. I think this one and maybe this one too. Okay, let me refresh. We should not have done many errors anymore. But the reason that it's not doing the redirect is because I didn't finish putting the router. So we have here is requires authorization. Always send me to login. So now we need to import if the person is authenticated. So in order to do that, what we need to do here is pretty much the following. Let me check my notes really quick on my router. Yes. So we need to import the use out store, and we need to verify. And after we use it, like we import, we need to use that in the nearest way that we're going to use it will be inside the before each function. So here we say, you know what? Before out this authentication, and here I now can use if requires authentication and authorization is authenticated. Oops, it's not authenticated. Send me here. And the other one that I need to do too, if it gets only am I authenticated, send me to project. That means I cannot go to login again if I'm already authenticated. So let me save those. And here we can see that we are in the landing, probably in the projects page. Yes, projects page. If I try to go to sign in, it's not doing it because we are already logging in. In order to log out so far, because we don't have the logout functionality yet, we can go here in our application side, local storage, and we can delete the local storage that we needed. So we can remove the token and the email. If we refresh, this should be sending us to the sign in page. Maybe. There you go. It did the redirect. It's actually a little slow, my computer. Sorry for that. If I do my login and put my password and sign in, we see the animation. We sign it in and it sends it to the projects page. And we want to get back here or get started. This is actually not working. Pretty neat, right? So let's finish the nav menu to proceed to have the different elements that are pending there. So right now we just have the nav menu as if you are signing out. We need to remove this and put another menu when we are signing in. For that, we go to components, nav menu, and the first thing that we need to do on the top in the script tag, oops, let me check right here. So we just have the link class part. So we need to do a couple of stuff. So we need to import router and use authentication store. We need to use those. So let's initialize all those composables. There you go. And then we say, and we create a function called logout or on logout. And this will be for a later part. So right now, when we call the logout, we go into authentication logout and router replace the to login. So we're doing the redirect right here whenever we click the logout part. All those changes are not being reflected. But now that we actually importing authentication there, we can do something really interesting in the navigation part. And what we can do in the navigation part is to import or to do something different here. We can grab this as a template. Template will be some kind of like an empty element that it doesn't put anything on top of it. So we can do a template. And this template will be actually BLs. That means that we require another template with the if. So what is going to be what we're going to be checking? We need to verify if the person is authenticated. We can do something is authenticated. And we can see it right there. If we delete the local storage for both, that one and that one, you can see right there, it goes back to the not authenticated part. If we sign in, the local storage has been updated, and now we authenticated, and we can see it through here. Since that is actually working now, we can do a router links and other element. So let's do, instead of say it's authenticated, let's do a link to dashboard. There you go. That's pretty much like the projects page. And we can do another, what I'm thinking here is, let's do something interesting. Let's do a simple div. And what I want to put here will be authentication.email. So we have who is actually logging into the system. In order to make it work a little bit better, let's make this what we can do about that. Let me think a little bit. Let's hide this in smaller devices. So let's do hiding by default. And items center. We have specific gap. Let's do 2.5. And for the smaller devices and bigger, it's actually going to be flex. That means it's been right there. But for the smaller device, it's just removing. Yeah. So we just have the dashboard link. Cool. Now I'm thinking let's grab this out in a span. So we can do something for the email. And let's change the class a lot. So let's do, I had it right here. So let's do, it's a grid element with height 7, weight 7, item center inside this span. And we're just telling it that place item center because it's in grid, rounded full with a border, color border, background surface 2, text small, font medium, text, color text 2. Then they will make that little weird button there that I'm thinking we should be putting this here. So we need to do, we can do the application email or this one. And we say that, you know what? Char at 0 to uppercase. So what I'm doing here, I'm just getting the first letter from the email and make it there like a icon or like avatar for the name. So I know that my email is fake here. So we just make it, well, let's make it that like an avatar point of view. And now let's put the email now in another span. It should be there in a minute. There you go. Then just make it a little bit different. Let's do it smaller. So the same size as the other one, small. And let's do text to this grayish color, right? And let's do just an area value. Let's do translate equal to no. So automatic translation doesn't apply here. And here let's do a simple area hidden because it's a decoration element, so should not be there. Cool. So we have that grayish email with the avatar there when we are logging in. I think the last thing that we need to do here it will be actually a logout there. And we can use our button or we can use a general button. So let's do import app button from application button. And let's do that button right here. Application button. Let's do sign out. And let's do a class of, actually no class, variant of Ghost. It should appear in a minute. Yeah, sign out. I think I like it. So we can do this is at click, we do on logout, right? And the logout, what it should be doing is execute the store logout section and going back to login. So if I click sign out, I'm sending to here. Let me remove my, let me do sign in. Let's do my email. Let's do the password. Sign in. I'm right here in my projects page. Cool. I click sign out and send me back here. If I click get started, let's try to do another other email at fake.com. Let's do a smaller one and let's see what happens. Is have an issue because this should be specific sizing, minimum 8. We see it right there. Pretty neat, right? If we try to do something like this, it give you like, hey, you need to be an email because we're using the validation part. So is it at least we are not sending those in. So we create it. Oh, I think we didn't apply those on the register yet, right? I think the register is not complete. Yeah, we don't have the authentication part here. So let's go back in the register. Let me see my notes. And on my register view, we have the reactive, the use title, the button form field, So we need to use the same asynchronous, and let's use the store. Let's import those. And we do the title, and then we can actually use the router. I'm actually missing the router too. Let's put the router right here. And we can just, before this one, just to keep some kind of control, we use the router, to the out from use authentication store, and then loading error and field errors run from use asynchronous or grapper, right? And we can do the simple submit function that will be for the class. That pretty much what it's saying is run the authentication register with the value for the form, right? Replace two projects if this actually works. Because remember the register, what it does is also log us in to the app. If not, don't do anything, right? Should be an error state if there is an issue there. So now that we did that, we should be adding the elements missing. So we have submit, prevent, unsubmit. That's what we're doing here. Cool. So for here, we need to add the error sections. Now that we have it for the email, we need to add the error section for the password. And the error message is actually fine. And for the create account, let's do the loading state, right? Very much show create an account and create account depending if the loading state is happening. Right? So after doing that, if we try to register, let's do the one that we already have. A user with that email already exists. Pretty neat, right? If we do a smaller one, it doesn't allow us. Password must be at least 8 characters because we are submitting. That's in the error. The same through here. It is incomplete. We see that error. Cool. So let's do real one. And now can see that we are logging in. We are in the project folder, and my email is other email at fake.com. And that little avatar is right there. We can do a simple sign out now, just to have it there. I think let's log into fake one more time. I think we can do this a little smaller. And on the application button on the nav menu, we can do size small. There you go. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I think the only thing that we need to add here is to the class to be pointer select, I believe, cursor. Cursor pointer. If we add that, we have that little hand when we sign it over here. And we just click it. Get started, send us to registration, sign in. We cannot go to project. It sends us to here until we actually log in. And now that we are logging, if we try to go to log in, it sends us to project. So we try to go to register, it sends us to project because we are already logging in through the app. And I think I have a typo here. Always have typo somewhere. And sign out. There you go. Cool. So let's stop the video now here. The idea was to have the skeleton so far working and communicating to the backend We have the several page, and those page only works whenever we are logging into the app. So if I do projects 5, whatever, we are in the details, and we are able to go because we are logging in. So in the next video, we're going to handle the details part and the project's dashboard. They send me to the dashboard in order to proceed and communicate and do the full CRUD elements and implement those inside the application. So far, I hope that you will like the video. What we did here is one more time. We use the authorization store. We have several stages. We have some helper function, like the use asynchronous. It's just a wrapper. You know that every call needs to be try catch. So when something fails, you need to catch it. Pretty much. And we use a wrapper for that. So we just need to send those to there. And the cool thing about that wrapper is having those loading states and details that we can go around it because we have a specific data and how that data need to be submitted in the app. The other things that we have through here is we have the rails and guard rails around the before each in every route. And we have some meta information that we can actually play around and see, you know what, if the guest authenticated, don't go here, or yes, go here, depending the case. And we're able to do it. We make the call for the register part and we report for the login, and we see that both of them are actually working. As a last thing that probably we can review, let me open, this is the backend project. It's running locally. As you can see here, the limit when I updated to 100. If I go to my Wrangler D1 and we go to the users, you see all the fake user, fake to, and other email at fake. All those users that have been created are actually right here and just being executed. So one more time, next video, we will handle all the CRUD elements, create, read, update, and delete for projects and for tasks. And I hope that you like it. Any question, any doubt, don't hesitate to reach me. Happy coding, everybody.